So you last week, I think, spoke to a Battery Ventures Sales Summit group, I think with over 100 sales and go-to-market executives. Were there any kind of surprising questions or maybe different tones that you got kind of from the audience? I'm sure you had your talking about all your everything great that you can always talk about. Anything, any nuances?
You know, two things there. First is I feel really energized being able to be with a whole bunch of top performers who have chosen sales, entrepreneurship, and tech. Well, for me, tech, but even just sales and entrepreneurship and building business as their chosen career. It's so empowering and inspiring to be with people who just want to talk about how to get better and how to sell more and how to engage our customers more. So we haven't done much of that in the last couple of years of being able to have those in-person get-togethers. I think, one of the things that I talked about that we've talked about a bit already, Randy, that seemed to resonate in the discussion, because we were talking about how to create and sustain high-performing and winning teams. Here's my perspective on it. And we've talked about people a lot. People oftentimes are asking me, what should I focus on? Hey, Kelly, what should we focus on as my top priority, my top 3 priorities? And depending on stage or depending on company or depending on industry, people think that the answers are going to be different. What should I do when I'm 0 to 10 million? What should I do when I'm about to go public? What should I do when I'm a public company and I'm launching a new product? What about when I go global? What about when times get tough and I need to focus on operational efficiency? Everyone always seems to believe I'm going to have a different set of priorities depending on what is going on. And for me personally, my priorities, my top 3 priorities have always been the same, regardless of company, regardless of what board, regardless of stage, regardless of situation. And in fact, Randy, my top 3 will always in perpetuity be the same. So these are what my top 3 are. Regardless of what's happening, what is priority number 1? It's people. What board, regardless of stage. Now hear me in back. Okay, so I'll go back. What are top 3 priorities? Priority number 1 is people.
Yeah. Always.
Priority number 2 is people. And what is priority number 3?
People.
It's people. You got it, Randy. Because, it's people who actually build your product and services. It's people who engage with your customers and sell to your customers and support your customers. It's people who do all the marketing. It's people who do the back office. It's people who hire the other people on your team. And then it's people who manage those people and talent on your team. It's people who make decisions. So you could have the most amazing product in the right time with the right opportunity. And if you have the wrong people, it's going to be super challenging. But if you have the right people, even if you make some mistakes, whichever we all will, those people will get you through it. And so I think it's really important, even in this day and age, and this is what we were talking about last week at the summit, when it's remote work and there's a tough economy and we're all trying to build things and have ups and downs, where should our focus be? It needs to be on our people, because they're the ones who are going to get us through. And that comes to create great culture, bring great people, and it's people that build great companies.
Absolutely. And speaking of people, you had some cool events, looks like the past couple of weeks. You had a Gong summer party in San Francisco last week, so that must have been great bringing everybody together.
It was fun. We've been remote for a number of years, and just a couple months ago, we opened up 3 different hub offices in the United States: San Francisco, Chicago, and Atlanta. We also have an office in Dublin and in Tel Aviv. Now it is great to be able to bring those people together live in real person to be able to interact.
That's awesome. And then Seattle, you have a Gong lounge. I saw. What's that?
So the lounges, they're in COVID, people ended up popping up and hiring in all different places. So there's these clusters of people that work everywhere that aren't close to one of the offices, but they still want to be able to have that live in-person interaction. So what we've done is we've done these pop-up lounges. And these pop-up lounges, we rent out a restaurant or a space and it has good Wi-Fi. We provide food. We tell everyone to come. And it's like a temporary one-day office where everyone can get together, be able to have in-person interaction, have some fun together, have some social time, but still be able to be productive and work. So we just had a lounge here in Seattle, which was really fun.
Oh, that's awesome. So for those watching, don't be shy. Feel free to comment, ask any questions. You got an expert in Kelly here in several different areas I'm sure you've seen so far. So you should be able to just post that on LinkedIn. So speaking of kind of authenticity, so you had a recent note that went out to, I think, 100,000 customers and had a little mistake in it. And it's amazing how well you handled that.
Yeah, well, we did something, everyone makes mistakes, right? And so we had a little blunder here at Gong, or maybe it was a bigger blunder. It was just an email. And when you have email and you do first name, it has first name and you have to get rid of where it says first name and put the name in. Well, it actually still had the F and then it had first name. So we sent out over 100,000 emails and it would come to someone like me and say, hi, F Kelly. And it was super embarrassing because we ended up having this blunder where people were like, oh, something got wrong with my name. And I ended up, it was an automatic email, but I ended up signing it. It was from me. And, when I first saw that went out, first intent is, oh, that's nerve-wracking. That's embarrassing, makes us not look professional. And then just realized, what? Stuff happens. We're going to make mistakes. And so much of it with our internal teams and with our customers is, how do we show up and how do we deal with the mistake is almost more important than what the mistake was. And I think with that, we had a bit of humor. We followed up with our customers, but it also was a learning for our whole team of we need to just be able to give grace when people make mistakes. It's going to happen. I have made more mistakes than, we could spend hours and days and weeks and years talking about all the mistakes I've made. And it's best just to address it, confront it, learn from it, and then do better next time. And how we show up is important.
Absolutely. And I think you have a 4-step plan that you posted, which I love, which is own it, assess the damage, make it right, and learn and grow. I mean, that's great. And from a culture perspective, having people, it's on the one hand serious, but that you're able to, learn from it and maybe joke about it a little bit. And probably in some customer situations, it probably even, some could say, hey, maybe they did that on purpose just to kind of, set the stage. But not saying that, but, probably helped a lot of customer situations as well, right? Where they say, wow, this is a great company. They are real. And I don't know if I would have handled it that way.
I think people love just having authenticity and truth in how people are reacting, just to realize that they're dealing with real people, not just companies, and we're not just bots, and people are real and vulnerable, and own it. If you make a mistake, you own it. So much of it wasn't only how we reacted to the mistake, it was that authenticity. And companies don't sell to companies. People sell to people, and people buy from people. And so it's making sure that we have this people connection as we interact and sell companies, sell customers, interact with them, support them. And that's really important.
Awesome. Great. All right. We have a question from LinkedIn user. Thank you, LinkedIn user. They say, how do you see the collaboration overlap between sales and customer success management to manage the overall global customer relationship? So the kind of, sales on the one hand, kind of, getting the customer, and then probably what's the handoff on the customer success team or staying with the sales team? And maybe it varies by customer segment.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge, huge topic. It's hard to do justice to it in just a couple of minutes. But most companies, because they have one team that's selling and then another team with customer success, I think that it's really important for us as companies to understand the entire customer journey. So it's not just there's sales, that's one function, and then they go to post sales, because everything is a continual loop. Because we sell, we make them successful, they come back and they buy more. Then we support them. Then maybe they buy another product and then we support them. And so understanding how we can actually help best support that customer throughout the entire journey of when they come on, how they adopt our product, how they expand the product, how they end up using the product. So that's one hook that we need to do. I think second is being able to make sure we have really tight handoffs and clear roles and responsibility, because where it can get confusing is if there's an account manager on the sales side that feels that they're the champion and they own the customer, and then there's a CSM who thinks that they own the customer, it can be really unclear to the customer of where do I go for what. And especially as companies end up, they have services and they have support and they have CS and then they have sales and then they have, some community and then they have education. It can be really confusing. So that's another reason why it's really important to just understand from the customer standpoint, how are we helping to proactively move them through that journey so it's seamless and creating a really positive experience for the customer.
Yeah, great.
So we could have a whole podcast to unpack that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, customer success, that's a whole nother kind of sales tech stack too, technology and everything else here.
Although Gong plays there too. Lots of customers, over 30% of our users are outside of sales, and a lot of them are in CS, marketing, support, product as well. So
awesome. Great plug. So on the kind of family side, if it's okay to say, you and Jeff celebrated your 25th anniversary in Vietnam.
We did. And I took 2 weeks off. And I think one important thing for us all to remember is we all go really, really hard and we're all working a ton. And it's important to take time for yourself to recharge, to be able to reconnect with your family, and that's important to you. It's also really important to be able to set the right example for our teams, that we don't have to be on all of the time. So I went to Vietnam for almost 2 weeks. I brought my phone and my iPad and I left my computer at home. It's actually one of the first times I've ever done that with my computer. I felt like if I had my computer, it's too easy to get grabbed in. So we were able to really have a fantastic vacation and celebrate our 25th and enjoy Vietnam. And I knew that there's people here at the team that could continue to get the work done. I didn't need to be on all the time.
Excellent. That's great. And what about, depending upon the industries, some would say maybe tough economic times, any sales tips that you would give your team?
Yeah, definitely some teams. I think when the going gets tough, some companies tend to grasp at all different straws. Hey, things are getting harder, so I'm going to try 100 different things. That's completely the wrong approach of what to do. Right. When time gets hard, we have to have very, very tight focus. Pick the 2, 3, 4 things, maybe even one thing that you do extremely well, and focus and know where you're going to put all your eggs in one basket and know how to put that focus, because you can't do a ton of things well, especially when you're trying to do more with less. That's the first. The second is know the truth and reality of what's happening. What happens is when people are trying to go fast and do more with less, they tend to kind of scramble and have some knee-jerk reactions. This is a time to really understand what the data is saying, what's the reality of what's happening, and then be able to make data-driven decisions on where you should prioritize and focus.
Excellent. I used to, again, I'm old school out of my things, but where you have reps going off in wrong areas, do the old school kind of green zone, yellow zone, red zone, just focus in the green. And then somebody calls in, selling this, I don't know, that's the yellow zone, that's the red zone, don't go there.
Yeah, focus.
Starting to get some questions here. So from Greg, I know for me, I use a number of RevOps tools and they're all integrated into Salesforce. Many of the tools I use have overlap, but have areas where they're unique and strong. How do you see the market morphing and consolidating to eliminate many of these point tools?
Oh,
that's a layup.
Yeah, Greg, that's a great question. Well, what's happening is, especially now when macro times are tougher, you're having even CFOs and IT are saying, we need to optimize the tech stack. We don't want to have all these different point solutions. We want to be able to manage from a financial standpoint, but also even more importantly, to not have our teams internally having to use a whole bunch of different technologies. So I think you will absolutely start seeing a lot more consolidation. And my sense is that, and our sense here at Gong, is who's going to win in that consolidation are those that actually have the data at the center that are going to make all of these different tools operate the best. And that's why we're kind of starting to sound like broken record, but Gong is really focusing on creating this extensible, comprehensive data platform. Because, for instance, forecasting, anyone can go put forecasting in a spreadsheet, but if I want to know is my forecast real, I want to dive into the deal and understand it's happening. Anyone can talk about, hey, we're going to put some templates out for sales reps, but what if you could use AI and say, hey, the words that it say in the templates should actually surface what are the top priorities that your customers are talking about, and just auto-populate that through your insights. All of this is going to end up coming back to a comprehensive platform that taps into the data. And then when we start talking about the next generation of data is being able to have actionable insights and AI on that data, you need to, one, have the data, but then it's going to matter of who actually has the most robust artificial intelligence and machine learning. And a lot of these tools are point solution. They came from the tool solution point first, instead of from AI at the center first. And so those that you're going to see taking more share are going to be those that have the data and those that actually have real true technology that was from the beginning all about the AI.
Great. Thanks, Greg. And from Timothy, Gong has been instrumental to some of our clients for coaching, selling, etc. I'm curious if any of your customers are using the data from Gong for marketing insights, for example, campaign ideas coming from top competitors, consistent challenges mentioned in recorded conversations, etc.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he goes by Tim or Timothy, but this is one of the misconceptions I think people have about Gong, because so many companies are using Gong for coaching and selling and onboarding and ramping, and that's a great use case, and absolutely people should be using for that. But where it gets even more interesting is where you have these insights that can help you to really learn what's going on in your business. So marketing insights, competitive insights. For instance, we just launched a few weeks back an economic pulse. And this is a macroeconomic risk tracker where we've pulled a whole bunch of these words: recession, layoff, hiring freeze, spending freeze, all these words that recession, that talk about where there might be a slowdown, and put it into a tracker to then be able to say, are your customers talking about these macroeconomic risks? When they do, is it helping deals? Is it not? Is it slowing your deals down? And what we have found is actually when they mention it, in some cases, for some companies, the company's actually selling more software. It's not always a bad thing. So how to train your sales team of how to know what they're talking about, and then how to pivot your playbook and your messaging and your marketing to be able to address that in the best way. And this is with the trackers and the smart trackers. It all comes back to that robust artificial intelligence to provide these insights. And this is another thing. As we think about the consolidation of the sales tech stack, it's not only going to be what does the tool do, like what's the tactical thing do? It's going to be what insights does it serve up that provides prescriptive guidance on what to do next and how the company should pivot. And that's where really Gong, our product team, is focusing its time.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Timothy or Tim, and Greg chimed back in to say thank you. Great session. So time flies when you're having fun. Kelly, you've been fantastic. Really appreciate it. For those watching, feel free to tell others. Tucker behind the scenes posts it everywhere, so you can see it there. And certainly for those that are considering improving in the sales side, in revenue intelligence, and a lot of other areas in the sales stack, definitely look at Gong. And for those that are members of Sales Community, thank you very much. For those that are not, we actually have a summer free special going on, which is salescommunity.com/free. And for any Gong friends, you can also get a free link at salescommunity.com/Gong. And Johnny Chan, who's one of yours, I believe, says, thanks, Randy and Kelly. Great session. No question from Johnny, though, I guess. But anyways, probably too busy multitasking.
If people have any other questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. We're all in this together. Love to hear from you. And Randy, thank you again for all that you do for the sales community. I think you just have fostered such an incredible network. And I feel very honored and privileged to have been a part of the conversation today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Larry chimes in and says, fantastic session. So next week we have episode number 93. Matt Handler, who's the president and COO at CoreLogic. So that should be a great session as well. So everybody have a great rest of day and great rest of week. And Kelly, thank you so very much.
Thank you.